Anyone that knows me
Uh-oh.
knows I don't drink a lot of light beer.
Okay, so here we go. Oh, what's the intro?
Hey everyone, welcome to Tales from the Casino Pit. This is a podcast about stories in the casino industry. And now, here are your hosts, Jay, Jon, and Mike.
How's it going, everybody? So Jay's not here today. He's actually taking a break. He's got the week off, so he's doing something far more productive than sitting in his basement drinking with us. So if you're watching this, whatever you are, thanks for watching. And today we're going to be talking with Mike, as always. And we got Colin back. So this is really exciting. Mike actually really wanted to kind of follow up with Colin, especially because the last time I saw it, he was breaking the world record. So, hey.
We hope.
We hope. So, excuse me. Well, first things first, happy St. Patrick's Day. And I'm sure everybody's drinking. If they're not, they should be.
I didn't even grab a beer. I was late.
What? Oh, dear God.
I know.
I remember when you were a rookie at the casino and you wouldn't have made that rookie mistake back then. So I'm surprised you're making it now.
I know. I was in a rush to set up the computer.
I'm kind of, to be honest, I left and I was like, I had to pick up my son. So I left. He was at boxing. So I set it all up and I rushed and I'm like, come on, we gotta go. So then I had to drive back quickly from St. Albert and then run downstairs. And okay, go feed yourself. Just feed yourself. It's okay.
Bring me a beer.
Yeah, forage food. Oh, where's my beer?
Grab some pizza pops and bring me a beer.
Exactly. So Colin, I want to follow up with you from the tell us some more stories about the excuse me, the world's longest hockey game, because I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, it was cold. Where to start? There's a ton of stories, starting with, everyone kind of being locked in their trailers for a couple of days, and you're kind of seeing guys in passing, and we're all using the same. They had actually pretty nice portable washroom setup that was a lot nicer than just your average porta potty. So you'd see guys there, but you hadn't, everyone showed up, but we didn't have the chance to meet anyone. So you're kind of, introducing yourself to guys and getting to know. And turns out I've got a friend whose neighbor was playing in the game, and we ended up being neighbors in our campground, I guess. So I got talking to him and I find out he's from St. Albert. And I said, or where in St. Albert? He tells me, I said, are you friends with so-and-so? He says, yeah. I'm like, okay, I knew you were playing in the game, but funny that we're right beside each other here. So real kind of feeling out process. And then the whole time we were there, I think when we spoke the first time, we still didn't know who our line mates were going to be yet or anything. And then the first time we kind of had a group get together, they called the Lions down. So 6 guys at a time, plus Brent and Brenda, who's his sister, who kind of quarterbacks everything once Brent's playing. And I look around and I'm playing with Kyle Brodziak and Zenith Comer. I always get this wrong every time. Komarinsky or something. Both, 2 guys that have NHL experience, and I'm going, holy man, I'm definitely the plug on this line. So meet the rest of my line mates. The other guy was a trainer for the Eskimos and the Oilers for a combined 10 years before moving out to BC to start a home building company. But I think every guy would say this, but I think I can say it the best. I lucked out with my line mates. I had just a great line. Kyle Brodziak, NHL or 960 games, but just to use a hockey term, an absolute beauty, like a great guy, funny as can be. He's got the professional quality chirps from hanging out in NHL dressing rooms for 15 seasons or whatever, and just so we had a lot of fun when we could, and we sat around for a couple of days, and then the game got officially started at 6 p.m. on Thursday the 4th. And my first shift started at 3:40 a.m. on Friday morning and went till 10:40 a.m. So they started me with just a gentle 7-hour shift
in the middle of the night. Oh my God!
Exactly. And then from there it was I don't know how much in depth you want me to go of kind of how it played out for the 11 days or 10 and a half days, but I can tell you. So my first shift was that Friday morning, let's call it 3 to 10 in the morning. And then I had a few hour break, and then I was back on the ice Friday night, and then kind of had the same shift Saturday morning, not quite as long, but I want to say it was like from 4 till 9 or something, about 5 hours. And then my next shift went until 10 p.m. on Saturday night. And that's the first time where I hit a wall. and I'm walking up to my trailer. It's about a 200-yard walk from the rink house to where our trailers were. And I'm walking up, 2 days in, and I'm going, I can't do this. I'm done. I don't know how the hell I'm going to finish 10 more days, or I guess 9 more days of this. And it was a combination of, from the first day I was already so sore muscle wise. Normally I play a lot of hockey through the winter, but obviously with COVID, I haven't been on skates at all since I think it was October. We played a couple games, and I was the combination of soreness and fatigue, and then the freezing cold was miserable, and my feet were already starting to hurt, and I couldn't play hockey. Like I'm not very good at the best of times, but I couldn't, like, the combination of the muscle fatigue and soreness, any ability I did have was pretty much gone. And felt like I couldn't skate, couldn't pass, couldn't shoot. I was like, man, like this could be a long 10 days if I can't figure out how to play this game again that I've been playing for 40 odd years or whatever. And the muscle fatigue kind of goes away. And the veterans are always telling you, day 4 takes 4 days. And then you hit kind of like a zombie-like state where your alarm goes off, you get up, you trudge down to the rink, you get dressed, you play, you get off, you trudge back up to your trailer. And then, and that's exactly what happens. You hit that kind of you find a bit of a rhythm, and you have some ups and downs along the way. And, now you're dealing with kind of the physical pain, but the mental part, you're kind of hit a fatigue level where it's just like Groundhog Day and whatever. And you look forward to the daytime shifts where there's some sunlight and the ice is a little bit better, even though it's, that cold. But the daylight shifts, it's, just for your psyche is a lot better. And then, then you then it's pain management. For me, it was all about my feet and my ankles and pain management on just how to tie the skates right and how to tape your ankles right to get through that shift. And, that was pretty frustrating because I'd tape them one shift and I'd go out there and I'd be like, oh, hallelujah, I figured it out. These feel great and I can handle this. And what did I do? And then you'd go and get ready for your next shift and you'd be meticulous to do everything exactly the same. And it felt like you're getting stabbed in the shins. And I was like, wow, what happened? What went wrong between then and now? I thought I had this. So yeah, it's every shift was a new learning experience. It wasn't uncommon to retie and retape your skates 4 or 5 times in the first hour just to try and get them right.
Wow. So for those who are watching or listening or whatever, Colin, and didn't watch this before, Colin actually took part in the world's longest hockey game, which was, I think, was it 251 hours that they played?
252, yeah.
252. I want to ask one thing, because this is one of the things I was really impressed as well. So, Colin, what was your goal to raise? How much money was your goal to raise, and how much did you eventually raise?
Personally, or the entire event?
Oh no, you personally.
So personally, they set every player goal at 10,000, and that was my goal. Having only joined the game kind of 2 days before, it was definitely the last ad. Tells you how bad a hockey player I am. I was like, well, we're out of choices. I guess well, that's that Colin guy. But so my goal was 10,000. I guess is what they set it at, and I thought, geez, if I can hit that, I'll be pretty happy camper. And I finished just a hair over 16,000. So,
that's really cool.
Yeah,
that really is cool.
And I said it that one night that I joined late at night, and I got to thank a lot of the people that watched this podcast or whatever we call this thing. Not very tech savvy, but there were lots of names coming up that I recognize because I've seen them comment on this. and I, and names I know from the casino industry. There's a couple, I won't say them, but a couple names that I know from the business, but I don't think I've ever met. And I saw them donating to my page, so I know exactly where those came from. So, I thank you guys for the outlet.
So that's awesome.
Yeah.
So here's the $1 million question: would you do it again?
100%. Yeah, it's and this is probably one of the things I've told more people. They gave us face masks that say "World's Longest Hockey Game" and my number on it and stuff. And for those of you who don't know, I'm in car sales. It's pretty rapport building type business and stuff. And that face mask has been great just as an icebreaker and stuff. And this is one story I'll tell you complete strangers, but if you asked me on the game ended Monday morning at 6 a.m. And if you asked me Sunday night at 6 p.m. if I'd play in the next one, I would have honestly said, I don't know. And if you asked me at 6:01 a.m. on Monday morning, when it ended, it would have been a hell yes, 100%. Don't even need to think about it. That just the joy and elation and the feeling of accomplishment, personally and as a group, when it all finally ended was overwhelming, to be honest. It was very emotional, and it was the high of all the highs that we'd been through in the week, and that hasn't changed. If I'm asked again, and I sure hope I am, 100% I'm in.
That's really cool. Okay, so we have some pictures, so I'd like to show them, and maybe you can tell us a bit about them. Hang on a sec.
Yeah, I kind of selected a handful.
Yeah, so there's about 45 pictures, so this won't take too long to go through.
Welcome to my slideshow.
Exactly, yeah.
It's summer vacation.
Exactly, yeah. And here I am going down the ice, and here I am coming back. Okay, so here's the first one.
Not put too many in.
Okay, so here's the first one.
Yeah, so the one on the, I guess, left would be my stall. I just kind of took that when we showed up. We had dropped off some of our gear, but they came in, they want to make you feel like a professional. So they set your stall up for you, almost like an NHL player, skates hanging, jersey. The kind of cool thing on the top, there's a true helmet. That's a NHL quality helmet. It's about $350. True Hockey donated 40 of those to every player. And then a set of Warrior professional NHL quality gloves donated to every player, so that, we looked professional out there at least. And then that's me in my full gear. I'd like to draw attention to kind of the booties I have on my skates, which are some Sorels cut apart and taped over, and I've got strategically placed Hot Pockets duct tape to my skates underneath there. And then the other one's just a picture I took one time when I came off the ice on a particularly chilly, I'm guessing, middle of the night shift. And it's kind of what it looks like for, as it turns out, we hit that polar vortex perfectly. We couldn't have timed it better as far as it was about 15 below the day before it started and 15 below the day after it started, which is perfect weather. The highest high when we played was 24 below.
It was like a perfect storm. I just want to highlight one thing. It's kind of like Where's Waldo? On the first picture on the left, are you the only one that had beer in their stall?
You sound a lot like my wife there, John, because she said the exact same thing.
I was like, oh, this is really cool. And I was like, what? If I know Colin, I bet that's beer.
Yeah. You're not the first one to point that out. Busted.
Okay. Here's another one. So
that's one puck. We went through a 2-day stretch where we were breaking a puck about every 10 minutes. You'd hit the post, sometimes even just off the boards, and quite often they just split in 2 or maybe 3. But and I've seen that before. I've never seen a puck explode, and these ones were properly exploding. Like that's, I think, about 8 pieces there, and there's a bunch of smaller pieces we missed. The pucks, even when you threw them on the ice, they made a different sound than a normal puck. They sounded very crystally. You could just tell how frozen they were. And then that's one of my 13 COVID tests throughout the time we were there. We had to get tested every single day at 3 p.m. So if you got off the ice at 11 and your next shift was at 6, I guess that'd be a bit of a stretch. If you got off the ice at 1 and your next shift was at 6, you still had to wake up at 3 to go get your COVID test. So fun little wrinkle this year that they haven't had in past years.
I have never seen. Sorry, John.
Sorry, no, Mike, you go ahead.
No, I was going to say, in all my years, I mean, I've played hockey too, not up to your level and everything. I've never seen a puck explode like that. I have never seen a puck like that. That's just crazy.
Yeah, when it first started happening, it was like, "Ooh, geez, must be cold. We broke a puck." Skate for 5 more minutes. Oh shit, we broke another one. And there was a point where it was like, "Geez, do we have enough pucks?" They brought in 1,250 pucks, and there was a stretch with the bubble. If a puck went over the boards and landed at a ref's feet, the refs were just outside the boards.
Mm-hmm.
The refs were not allowed to throw the puck back in.
Wow.
Once it left the bubble, it was COVID tainted. So we went through a lot of pucks, and when they started breaking like that, then it was like, there was a stretch there where we're like, geez, we hope we have enough pucks to get through this. And luckily it warmed up that 5 or 10 degrees that we needed it to, and they stopped breaking. But yeah, it was wild. Like it was happening very, very frequently. There was a picture that someone posted of the pile of broken pucks, and I was guilty of reposting it thinking, okay, that looks like a lot, and it's weird that someone would have went and gathered them all up. Like, the people that live out there, 2 of the mom and dad, Brent and his wife Janelle, both played in the game. They're not running around and picking these pucks up. Turns out that's a pile of coal that they were using to feed the fires for the volunteers.
But it's a good story, though.
But it would have been a big pile nonetheless. Just maybe not that big. So.
Okay, Colin.
Yeah, these ones are maybe a little hard to tell. On the one on the left is just a shot of all the equipment I was wearing, all the, I guess, layers I was wearing. I was 7 or 8 layers on top. 3 layers on the bottom, plus shin pads, plus hockey socks and stuff like that. So call it 5 layers. But on top, I didn't wear shoulder pads or elbow pads for the entire game. You just had so many layers of clothing on that nothing you could do. And then I got hit in the foot with a skate and broke my blade holder halfway through the game. So luckily we did have one way of getting skates to a repair shop in Sherwood Park, where they would take your skates and fix them and then send them back and sanitize them and everything before they came back into the bubble. And so I, had that little hiccup for one shift, as every time I skate and you could feel the blade bending under you, and you're just hoping you don't buy it.
Man, that's
but again,
crazy.
Plastic, and it's that cold. It wasn't a hard shot, but as soon as the puck hit it, you just hear it snap. It's like, what are you gonna do? And that probably happened to 2/3 of the guys out there, 3/4 of the guys. So
we got some comments. I wanted to kind of like chat to you first. So
yeah,
the first one is, Joey's actually from England, so I think he's from Leeds. Well, maybe not Leeds. He might get mad, but he's from up north, and that's how they talk. Hey, up. So Joey tunes in all the time, and even to be honest, so it's like a 7-hour difference. So Joey's listening and watching from this at like 2:00 in the morning.
3 in the morning. Oh, hey, Joey, thanks for joining.
Yeah, so he always joins. And then we got this other retrobates. We got Daryl, who the fun never happens till Daryl's though. So I guess we can all relax because he's here.
This is like Daryl's like life alert bracelet or whatever. He checks in every week. We know he's good. He's made it another week. But if if he's not there, it's somebody better go send some authorities to go knock on.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, all right.
Okay, this was yeah. So here we go. This one is a bit of a long one, so I guess this was from from Roxanne. So she's saying, I just want to say a huge thank you for all volunteering for this. Well, we can all read this. Well, actually, no, I'm going to read it because this is going to go on a podcast. So I just want to say thank you for volunteering for this. As a stage 4 cancer survivor and currently facing a recurrence and more visits to the Cross Cancer Institute, I've seen and experienced firsthand all around the CCI, all the technology, and heard about different research programs the money raised goes towards, not just this fundraiser, but others. So that's somebody who directly was impacted by some of the stuff that you guys are doing, which it's kind of amazing, right? I mean, I think it's quintessentially Canadian, right? Like, hey, let's go and play hockey and raise a ton of money for the good cause.
Yeah. So, I was saying during the game, the highs and the lows, physically, mentally, and emotionally, are pretty extreme. Of course, when you're that exhausted, it just amplifies things. You're more emotional and you're whatever. But there were two different times during the game that were both very hard, but also kind of what motivated you to keep going, and it's what a lot of us needed. The first one was, I guess I'll give you a bit of more of a backstory. I guess I should check time here, but we had a goalie, and the goalie on my team, on Team Cure, one of our goalies didn't show up very last minute. So, a team of 20 guys, depending on 3 goalies, all of a sudden down to 2 goalies. That's a tough battle. So that's mentioned it last time I was on, that I actually had to play a 3-hour shift, which was easily the worst 3 hours of the event for me. But that goalie was having a pretty rough night, and he got in a bit of not an argument, but he kind of took himself off the ice early because he was exhausted, which led to a bit of an exchange with a couple other people saying, "Man, you can't do that. We need a goalie, and we're trying to do something here." And he got off the ice and checked his cell phone, and he had a message from a family that had lost their son 2 years earlier, and the next day was going to be their son's birthday, and I want to say it would have been his 13th or 15th. I might get some of these wrong for sure, and they said, we're wondering if you could wear attack dog. Said, we're wondering if you'd be able to maybe do something in honor of our son. He was number 31, and this was his name. I feel bad, I can't remember his name. And we're also coming by tomorrow to make a donation, and we have stickers made up that we're hoping, we know you're in a bubble, but we're hoping you guys could put them all on your helmets. And so this guy, he's had this kind of I want to quit moment, and he comes off the ice and reads that like immediately. Like, that's the first thing he reads after this all happens, which, if you believe in a higher being or whatever, kind of makes you think. Just the timing of it all was kind of surreal. And he, next day his parents show up and they've got stickers, and they grab the mic and they're telling us, how happy they are for what we're doing, and the story of their son that died of brain cancer 2 years earlier. And man, if you're on the ice and tired and hear these parents talking about their kid that passed away, it's kind of hits you. so that was pretty tough, but it reinforces exactly why you're there and why you're doing it. And Brent, the organizer who lost his dad and his wife to it, he kind of tells you cancer patients don't get a pick if it's a good day or a bad day, and we're done in 11 days, and then we'll all go back to our houses and we're fine. So suck it up, let's go cure cancer, that kind of thing. And then more to Roxanne's point of, she saw what this game does for this Cross Cancer Institute. She mentioned CCI there. We had another lady come, and she showed up on her son's birthday, and he had passed away quite a few years earlier. And she had since been diagnosed with breast cancer, which she had treated. And now she had a new, I don't know what type of cancer it was, but basically she had a year to live. And she is on the mic telling us that she has a year to live, but she's been accepted into the human trials for this PCLX001, which is the drug that we funded the human trials for with this game. And she's on that list. And if the drug performs as they hope and think it will, it could very well not just extend her life, but it could cure her cancer, and a cancer that there's no cure for right now. So here's a woman telling us that without these human trials getting funded as quickly as what we're doing, and these trials would have got funded eventually, but potentially years down the road. But this 1.5 million was earmarked specifically for that, and they're starting in May because of this game. And this lady with a year to live is in this human trials, and if the drug works, it will save her life. And so you want to see, 15 grown men skating around all bawling and trying not to freeze their eyes shut and stuff. That'll do it. So, that's when you see stuff like that, it really, you kind of yeah, it's cold. Yeah, we're miserable. Who gives a shit? So it's powerful stuff.
No, it's. I think. Well, I think there's all of us know people or have family or friends who've been affected by cancer too, right? Because to be honest, when every time this happens, the game happens every 2 years. A friend of mine, he got one day he was complaining about back pains. And we were like, oh my God, it's a kidney stone. And we were just making fun of him, like, oh my God, it's going to hurt so much about passing. It's going to be terrible, blah, blah, blah. And we, like, it was me and three of us who were really close friends. And we kept saying, oh my God, we just made fun of him. It's like, oh my God, it's going to hurt like hell. And then he got diagnosed, and he had stage 4 cancer, and he passed away 18 days later. So it was like, oh my God. And it was terrible, and it was shocking. And it was just, it was. So, what you guys did, it's amazing. And that lady who come up who mentioned about, it's an amazing thing that you did and what you went through to do it, right?
There's a guy that played in the game whose wife is terminally ill with cancer. She's on borrowed time, and he took 3 weeks of his life where he couldn't see her to play in this game. And yeah, I can't imagine that. And everyone there, Kyle Brodziak, everyone knows him. His dad passed away before Kyle ever made the NHL. So, everyone definitely has a story to tell. My best friend growing up, very similar story to the one you just told, John. His mom, she taught up until the end of March last year when they shut down schools. She was a substitute teacher. She had retired after teaching for 40 some odd years, and she was still subbing 10 years after retiring. She taught on the last day the school was open. She went to the hospital. They thought it was kidney issues, and less than 3 weeks later, gone from cancer. So it's like you said, everybody knows multiple people. It affects everybody. I want to talk real quick about the drug because it's kind of cool, and I learned a lot about it. So there's a number of different what do they call them? Cancer, not treatments, but classifications of cancer treatments. There hasn't been a new one since 1985, which is really hard to believe, considering everything that's done and all the research on cancer. 1985 is, we're talking just about 40 years ago. This is the first new classification of a cancer drug, of a cancer treatment since then. And that's why the acronym is PCLX001. It's the first one. It's a pill. It's not chemo. It's not radiation. It's an oral pill, and it's basically the most effective right now is on the lymphomas, so your blood cancers and whatnot, and showing great promise with breast cancer and I don't know the other ones, and I'm not going to kind of get into that, but the promise that it's showing up until human trials is immense. If you've listened to any of the interviews that Brent Sake has done, who's the founder of the game, he's convinced, or he's extremely hopeful that this is a cure for a huge number of cancers. And right now, for the most part, there's only extenders, things that'll extend your life and stuff, but there's not really a lot that's people go into remission and stuff, but then there's always the thought that it might come back. They talk about this one, and they don't throw around the term cure loosely, obviously, around cancer, but the hope around this one is high as anything that's been out there in a very long time. So it's pretty cool. So the human trials, like I said, they would have happened. The promise is that, and it's I should also say it's developed and discovered right here in Edmonton at the University of Alberta, which is pretty cool too.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Colin, I have one question. So did you give us a video as well to watch?
I don't think so. Maybe.
Well, what was this? I just wanted. It's not a video. It's like.
Yeah. So it's the pictures don't do the swelling I had justice. You can kind of tell on the right photo where I'm not wearing the sock of how it's just kind of one solid board going down, like for my ankle. There's kind of no definition of, and then the socks, like I said, pictures don't do it justice, but that's those are compression socks, and you can kind of see, especially on my right ankle, if you're looking at the picture on the left hand side, it's just one solid pillar all the way down, sort of thing. But the swelling, it's bad when my stall was kind of close to the entrance to the room, and if I was getting dressed, guys would come in and look at my ankles and just shake their head and go, "Oh man, good luck."
To be honest though, like if I didn't see there was a foot on the end, I would like that doesn't even look like an ankle. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
no,
because of the swell, I was swollen.
They
You
were
were going to try to play it as a video.
Yeah, they were pretty bad. I had to. There were shifts where I had to lay down on the floor and put my feet up on my bench for a few minutes to kind of let some of the blood out, and then quickly shove them in my skates, tie the skates up and as loose as I could, and then you just feel the skates getting tighter and tighter, and then that's going back to where I said you'd readjust 5 or 6 times. But yeah, that was my worst issue was ankles, and I did a couple things. I guess I won't say I did it wrong, but I found out that the duct tape I used, my skin reacted to the glue on the tape, which led to some pretty bad rashing, which then I think led to the swelling. I put brand new blades on my skates right before I started, which compares to ones that are older and are a lot more rockered. The pressure that puts, I won't be able to do a diagram, but the pressure that puts on the top of your ankle and where the lace bite happens when that blade is brand new, and the pivot point, I guess, if you're leaning forward on it, is so much more forward. So about 4 days in, I was really fighting it, and I was like, I'm going to try my old blades. And as soon as I put them on, I was like, oh man, I wish I'd never bought those new ones. Like, I think I was, so I have a file on my phone, and who knows, 3 years from now, I won't have the same phone. Hopefully I can transfer the file of little things I learned to remember for next time. So, and hopefully I don't forget them and I don't need that file, but I'm like, just in case, I'm not getting any younger.
I was going to say that I'm glad you showed that and described that, because you had a pretty significant foot injury a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah, 14 years ago. Yeah, but yeah, and that's, I still have like definitely a wonky ankle from that, and that factored in a little bit. Something it's so long ago that I really heard it that I don't even really think about it anymore. But you start doing something on that, you're putting that kind of stress on your ankle, and I'm like, ooh, I might not have the right ankles for this to begin with. But the nice thing was the foot that I got the bad lace bite on was that ankle that I've had the multiple surgeries on, and luckily because of the multiple surgeries, I don't have any like touch sensation. So the foot that was always cut open and blistered and bleeding, I can't feel any pain down there. So I just tape it up and away I went. no problem. So a little bit of it kind of played to my favor, but it was as bad as it was because that foot's a little bit abnormally shaped, let's call it, to begin with.
You just made your foot sound like a club.
It kind of is. They kind of are. It's been hard on both my feet. A few years after I wrecked the one, I was out camping and maybe being a little careless chopping wood, and I slammed the axe into my foot with sandals on. So that was a quick trip to the hospital.
Oh no.
If you ever want quick service at a hospital, go to Athabasca on the Saturday of a May long weekend. You're in and out in 15 minutes, stitched up, good to go.
I tell you, it's weird. I went to this is real quick. It's a side step. So we have a lake lot, and one day Rhonda was closing, like on a garage door at our neighbors at the lake, and she wrote, and it was kind of like a Quonset. So she reached up to kind of pull it down because it was kind of a bigger one. It was old, and we'd had a few drinks, and she pulled it down. And she forgot to take her fingers out, and it just collapsed, because the speed come down and it just crushed her fingers, right? So she came over and she's like, "Oh my God, look at my fingers!" And I was like, "Oh my God, I'll drive you to Ponoka." So thankfully I didn't really drink, so I drove there, and we went into this Ponoka emergency. There was not a single person in there. So we go in there, we tell the story, fill everything out, and I'm like, okay. And the guy comes out, And he starts talking, and he's like me, and he's from Wales. And I was like, oh my God, you're from Wales. So we completely basically forgot Rhonda with her hands all like, oh, like in pain and stuff. We're like, oh my God, where are you from? How long you been out here? And he's like, and after about literally 10 minutes, we're like, maybe you should sort her out, and we can kind of chat afterwards. So yeah.
Ours was similar. Well, like I said, there was same thing. Nobody there. And my wife drove me into town. I should go back. It's kind of funny if you want to see your kids kind of really freak out. As soon as I hit it, I knew it. I didn't hit it hard. Like it more or less, I'd say I dropped the axe, but it was made long, so I just sharpened it, and it split right between my big toe and the next toe. And I kind of dropped it, and I was like, okay, I hit my foot. I looked down, and it was starting to be a lot of blood already. So I kind of walked to the back of my trailer where there's an outdoor shower. I didn't make a scene. We were camping with a bunch of other people from my daughter's ringette team. And both my kids followed me, and I grabbed the outdoor shower and I spray it off. And as soon as there's no blood covering the wound, it's going. Both my kids. So,
oh my God.
But we get to the hospital, and they're just like, well, go in there. The doctor will come help you. And the doctor was South African. My wife is from South Africa. He was pretty much done stitching me up by the time my wife was done giving them my Alberta healthcare number and all that stuff. So, it's pretty funny, but great service. Like you said, I think we were back at the fire pit in under 30 minutes.
That's awesome. Axe in hand.
Yeah. Give me 1 second. I have to mute myself for 1 second while I yell at someone in my house.
Oh, so while Colin's yelling, so we just want to give it. So Joey's from Barnsley. So, and it's 1:20 a.m. and he's watching it there. So he's coming all the way in from Barnsley. And,
thanks, Joey.
Yeah. And we're right. This is Daryl's wellness check. So if he doesn't check in, we know there's something wrong. He's fallen down and probably hurt himself.
Yeah. Glad to hear you're okay, Dale.
So here's another one from Roxanne. So she's saying a couple of my fellow public health inspectors make quilt patterns and sell them for charity. They make patterns for some people experiencing different diseases and tell their story. So they have mentioned maybe doing a colon cancer pattern for me. And when asked what charity, I said I would want it to go to the world's longest game in your name. So I think that's really, really cool, Roxanne. So
that is awesome.
That'd be amazing. Yeah, that's amazing. I don't know what to say.
Yeah. So this was another thing. This was when Colin, Roxanne posted this when you were talking about the drug, and she was how the expectations and the hope for what this drug can do. And, Roxanne saying this is what gives us hope, which is, it really is. I mean, there's so much that game is doing for lots of people. And this is Joey again. He said, the big C is hard to go through, and to see anyone who'd go through it. I applaud anyone who raises awareness and raises money to help along research and develop new cures. So thanks a lot, Joey. We've all been sadly touched by cancer, and it's, guys like you, Colin, and everyone else who's doing it to fundraise and to do this thing, and it makes a difference, right?
Absolutely. And like I said, it's such a weird experience in the sense of the cold was, the cold is what everybody talked about, and the cold was miserable. I'm not gonna lie, that the cold sucked, but the cold was also manageable. I'd say some of the other things were worse, just the fatigue and stuff like that. But the cold, I would say our goal was as a group was 1.5 million. And at last check-in, we were at 1.98. We were just under 20,000 away from 2 million exactly.
Wow.
But the cold, I'm convinced, was, accounted for that extra 500,000 at least. The funny thing is nobody can relate, myself included, who I've been around the game a lot. I've refed in it tons, and I've spent hours and hours and hours at the games before, but nobody can relate to what it's like to play in an 11-day hockey game. It's just, I had no idea. I've been there. I thought I knew what I was getting into. Not even close. It was way harder than I thought it would be. It was way more taxing, but you can't relate. Everybody can relate to minus 40. And when these people are going to start their cars going, geez, I don't even want to go start my car. I can't imagine these guys playing hockey for 8 hours in this. Everyone can relate to that. So myself and every other guy out there, we saw multiple instances of, somebody, we'd get an email anytime someone donated. it sent out an automatic thank you. You know, a little bit bottled, but unfortunately just no way for us to respond to everybody as much as we'd like to. But you'd see who'd donate, and you'd get a donation from someone, and then, you know, anyone that donated early, especially, you saw them come back and donate again. And then they're sending you a text or an email saying, hey, I just donated again because my first donation wasn't enough for what you guys are going through. So we raised way more money because of the cold. But the weird part, what I was saying, you know, I don't think I'll ever get used to, and I don't necessarily want to, was when I've been around the game before, everyone's, hey, this is awesome what you guys are doing. You guys are great. This is amazing. You're awesome. This time around, we were called heroes, warriors, machines, all these pronouns, adjectives. I don't know. I was never very good in English class or whatever. But, you know, it's all very flattering and stuff. And I would say to every man out there, none of us feel like that. And I don't, it almost makes me uncomfortable. Like I'm not a warrior. I'm not a machine. I'm not a hero. There was times where I was, you know, broken and you know, I wanted to quit. And you know, like I said, I'm still, I get a little uncomfortable. I don't see myself as that. And I'm just, it's something I believe in. It's something I was lucky enough to get involved with, you know, 12 years ago or something like that. And I consider myself lucky to be able to have the opportunity to help and to give everybody that avenue to, you know, raise the money and stuff. And it's, you know, if it's not me, it's the next guy. But it was weird seeing all those terms being used. You know, it's getting text messages like, you guys are warriors. Now we're just a bunch of old fat guys playing hockey and drinking beer kind of thing, right? So, but the money, the -40, the cold temperatures, that helped huge on the fundraising side. And the one thing, you know, everyone, you know, a week later we were hitting temperatures on the other side, what, like +10 sort of thing. And everyone, well, don't you wish it was like this for the game? No, you can't play hockey outside in +10 weather. It's amazing how fast that ice will start melting when it gets warm like that. So you can deal with the cold. The heat will shut that game down, and the cold won't. The only thing that the cold does a couple things. It makes the ice really bad for two reasons. A, when it's dark out, the water freezes the second it hits the ice. And so you get really, really bumpy ice. And when you're out there for 6 hours and skating around, skates don't have any shock absorbers whatsoever. And so when you're on that bumpy ice skating around, it goes through your ankles, it goes through your knees, it goes through your hips, it goes through your back. And it's just like, man, this ice is awful. And it gets really brittle. And it if you take too hard a turn, it all cracks and big chunks of it come out. So that's really bad when it's cold. And then the other thing is you need to be really, really careful on how hard you're playing, because you're wearing, like I said, 8 layers on top. Some of them breathable and moisture wicking and all that stuff. And some of them, you know, wind repellent and whatnot. So you're warm, but if you start skating too much, then you start to sweat. And if you start to sweat, it's 45 below and a you know, -57 wind chill. Now you're in trouble. So the game was getting pretty slow sometimes at, you know, 4 a.m, and the ice is miserable and the wet, and it's like, we just can't afford to start sweating. And I think I mentioned when I was on that one night, you play more hours to have more subs. So you'll go out an hour early and stay an hour late, or you'll go out, you know, at your regular time but stay 2 hours late. So I played in the 252 hours, I played exactly 114 hours. So, but wow. But yeah, it's the cold changes things, but I think for different reasons than what I would have thought ahead of time, right? Like it's just I wouldn't have thought that you end up playing more hours because it's cold. I didn't realize how that cold, how it makes the ice that bad. And then just the whole dynamic of, okay, what's the exact right mix for layers here to be warm enough, but to not start sweating.
So did they keep, so what was your points at the end of the,
I knew you were going to ask that, and I was going to look at it before I came on. The final score was 2,600 and some to 2,500 and some. My team won by about 110 goals, I think. And I do know how many goals I scored. I scored 163 goals. There was a time in that, after that first 7-hour shift, I was pretty much the only guy that had a 7-hour shift at that point. Most guys had kind of a 4 or 5 or 6 hours. And I lit it up in the first 7 hours. My first shift, I lit up. I think I was up to 29 goals or something like that in the first few hours. And I had a bunch of guys that were sponsoring me like $1 or $2 a goal. And then right after my shift, the live scoreboard that was online and stuff went down for about 4 hours. So there was a pretty good stretch in the first 24 hours that I was the leading goal scorer. And I had all these guys kind of going, oh man, maybe I should have rethought how much I'm donating per goal, sort of thing. and my brother, who's we're about equally talented on the ice, which is, as I said earlier, not very. And he was, sending me all sorts of texts and, what the hell's going on? You must really be just kind of hanging out by the net and letting Brodziak feed you passes all day long. For a Baker to be a leading goal scorer is something's not right here. so yeah, that was pretty funny. And then they fixed the scoreboard, and my claim to fame of being the leading goal scorer was short-lived.
I hope you took a screenshot of that just for like.
Yep.
I think I do have one, to be honest. I haven't gone back and looked, but I think I do have one. So, or at the very least, I have one that someone sent to me because I had a few people that were looking, and they're like, "Holy shit!" Colin's on a lot of the guys that were following me. I've played beer league hockey with or whatever. They're like, something's not right. The counter must be broken, or are you paying off the scorekeeper or something? So, but yeah.
So, what are the plans for the next game? I know when you were on before, you said this is not a yearly thing. This takes place once every 3 years. Has he started making plans for?
Oh no,
for the next game.
So Brent does. So he also does the world's longest baseball game. So
okay, I know that.
So that will be. I don't know if it's summer 2022 or the summer of 2023, but he's done it at the whatever you want to call it, John Ducey Park or Remax or whatever it's called now. Mm-hmm. He's done it there the last couple times. He's in the process of building a field on his property to the exact dimensions of Yankee Stadium.
Wow.
He was quick to point out that anyone that played in the game will be expected to come out for some work bees in the summer to help him out. But Brent's a ball player by nature. He went to school and played university ball down in the States. He didn't ever put on a pair of skates till he was 30 years old. So ball is his passion. He says hockey's a hobby and baseball's a sport. It's kind of his line. But he'll be focused on the ball game next. And he's a bit of a fly by your seat of the pants guy. So I'd be surprised to hear anything from him, prior to 6 months to the next game, maybe a little earlier. Being a last minute ad, I don't know how much, the guys knew ahead of time. I'm still getting the odd surprise. I got my bill today, which I wasn't expecting, but the players, we pay our share of expenses to ensure that 100% of the money donated goes to the charity. So wow. not a single dollar donated is taken away from the charity. And that's why so everyone's heard of the Alberta Cancer Foundation, but the money from the world's longest hockey game actually goes to the Cure Cancer Foundation. And that's a foundation that the world's longest game franchise has started strictly to be a 100% in and out charity, whereas the ACF does have administration charges and stuff like that. So Brent's always been very, very adamant that it's a 100% in and out. And so with that, he sent us all our bill today. Here's what it cost you to play in the game. I was like, I wasn't expecting that. But it's, it stays true to the cause and to the purpose and stuff. So next time I might just look for a personal sponsor.
So, okay, one last thing before we go. So this is the last comment. So Joey back from Barnsley, back over there, the old country. So he actually played, he said 1,000,001 on a doubles board. John will know this, game of darts. It took us 10 days nonstop, 2 teams of 4 with 4 hours on, 4 hours off. They raised £5,000 for an intensive care unit. So that's pretty awesome. Yeah. So it's kind of cool when people do this for charity. Yeah. So, I mean,
good job, Joey.
I wonder if his wrists looked like my ankles by the end.
Oh, yeah, can you imagine like 1,000,001 plate, on a dartboard? I mean, that must have taken. It took us 10 days nonstop. So that's a
takes me an hour to get down from 501.
Exactly. Right. But yeah,
one. Damn it.
Yeah. Oh, do you know? Yeah, talking of darts, when I was 16, me and my friends, we used to start drinking in this local bar. We didn't have any money. We had a couple of, so we had enough money to buy a couple of beers. So we started playing darts just to drag it out, and we got pretty good at it. And there was about 5 of us. We were all underage, so we go there, and we ended up being on the darts team because we were good. And then there was like 9 of us on the darts team, and we travel around Cardiff, play other teams, and we would just get drunk and we were terrible and we'd lose every time, but we'd never get ID'd because we're like, oh yeah, we're on the darts team. Like, oh, okay, come in, we play, blah, blah, blah. So after 2 years, I celebrated my 18th birthday in the same bar. And they were like, what do you mean? You've been playing on the darts team for 2 years. So just great. So yeah, this has gone really fast. So we've only got 8 minutes left. So What are you guys' plans for the rest of St. Patrick's Day?
Watch the Oiler game. Let's hope they beat the Flames. And I've got someone. We're trying to sell our trailer right now, and I've got someone that's supposed to show up at 8. You know how reliable those Facebook Marketplace people are and stuff. But fingers crossed that works out. So,
well, hopefully, good luck on selling the trailer. Good luck for the Oilers to win tonight, of course.
Yeah.
So, okay, one last thing. Who would you want to give a shout out to for helping you like during the world's longest hockey game?
The political answer is probably my family. On like my boss at work, 3 weeks off on real short notice when you factor in the quarantine and everything else. To do that on short notice is huge, and he made it all happen. And then just anybody that sent a text, anybody that made a donation, like all those, it's mentally, like I said, it was a grind. It was a massive grind. So just getting a text from, my wife, my kids, guys I worked with, seeing a donation come through, all that stuff is those little prods that you need. And it's, I talked about the one guy's story, but it was amazing how sometimes those prods came exactly when you needed them. So it's a community thing. And even with COVID and us not, normally you'd be able to have your family come by and hang out with you in the dressing room and have a beer with the guys or a drink or whatever. We didn't get any of that this year, but I couldn't thank anyone, but we felt a huge amount of support. The fire departments, the police, the sheriffs coming by at 3 a.m. and 3 fire trucks roll up with their sirens and lights on and stuff, and blasting their loudspeakers and kind of cheering. We'd have random people. I don't know if they were drunk or whatever, but we'd have trucks people show up and they'd grab the mic and sing us a song, like they were singing what's that? Drawing a blank on the song, but they'd come out. There's just all sorts of goofy stuff like that was completely different in a pandemic year, but that made it, it's one of those things where it's maybe a little more memorable because of that. The guys, like the 39 guys that played, and just all beauties, all beautiful souls, great guys. They're all funny. Everyone got on. There was no fights, even though there's guys that, they're exhausted and there's times where they are a little ornery. I mentioned it when I was on the one night in the middle of the game, but the few volunteers that we had in the bubble, normally between refs, which probably accounts for about 400 of the volunteers, but normally there's about 800 volunteers in the course of the game. This year there was a few hundred refs, which were outside of the bubble, and 11.
Wow.
So, we had 4 Zamboni drivers because we had 2 Zambonis at a time flooding the ice. And when they weren't flooding the ice, they were making sure our trailers still had heat. They were making sure that, the bathroom we had up top wasn't freezing and flooding. And we ran them ragged for 11 days. And without those guys, the game doesn't make it past day 2. the two ladies that cooked for 40 guys 24 hours a day for 11 days. And these weren't young girls. Like, they were probably pushing 70 years old, and they're pulling, 14, 15, 16-hour days
Wow.
to feed us all. So there's the list of people to thank is everyone that donated, sent a message, everyone that came by and honked their horns and, pulled their car up and made signs. And to this day, I don't know if people were making signs at home and bringing them, and if so, I don't know how they knew to do that, because everybody was doing it, or if they had like a little spot where they'd park the cars, before they got to the rink, and they'd say, here's some cardboard and some markers, make a quick sign or whatever. Because, by the end, the fence was plastered with signs, and some from, guys' kids or whatever, and tons of pictures. People would bring out pictures of, loved ones that they'd lost or loved ones that were fighting cancer. And we had a lady, Kate Gallagher, who runs KMG events. She kind of spearheaded anything outside of the rink. So people coming and buying apparel and making donations. And she was there, man, I would say she was awake 19 hours a day. And she'd dance in the stands for us by herself, but guys would come and give her a picture, and she'd take it and she'd zip tie it to the fence. So by the end, we always said our fans were, these hundreds of pictures that were along the fence of people that we were playing for and in memory of or for and whatever. And it just, I couldn't, no way I could pinpoint one person to thank. It's definitely everybody.
So one question before, it's almost 8, so you need to go. So what was your nickname? Did you get a nickname after that?
Never did. No.
Oh.
I had a couple instances where I thought I might get one, but never happened. I'll tell one funny story quick. I know we got to get going here, but this is a pretty good one. So about I'm gonna say it's second day in or whatever. We realize it's cold, and it's kind of locked in cold for a while here, and we're in a trailer, our own trailer, and of course we have heat, but you can't use the bathroom in the trailer. There's no water. There's no running water or anything like that. These things are barely getting through 40 below, and it's a 40-yard walk to the bathroom, which is far enough when it's 40 below and you're tired and you don't want to get out of bed. So I was AHS came by the day before and looked at the facility and loosened up a bit of the rules. Initially, they said only one guy in the change room at a time. Luckily, they changed that to your line could be in there at a time, and we just had to respace out our stalls. But I was upstairs grabbing my lunch, and you'd go upstairs, grab your food, and then there was a couple massage chairs you could sit in there and eat it, and then you'd go back to your trailer. Well, we had these big, those big orange juice, 4-liter orange juice plastic containers with the big screw-on lid or whatever. And I was walking past, and they had a box full of them, of empty ones. And I was walking past, and I stopped, and I looked. And I went back and I grabbed one, and there was 3 guys sitting in the massage chairs, and they all looked at me, and the one guy kind of looked a little funny, went, "No, you're not." And I'm like, "Oh, I am." and he was disgusted by it. And the 2 other guys got out of the chairs and went and grabbed one themselves. By the end, everybody had one of those in their trailer. And I will probably say I didn't do this, but there was a few guys taking it a step further. I'll leave it at that. But walking to that outhouse became only if you absolutely had to, because it was just so cold, and you're in bed in your trailer was the only place you were truly warm. If you were out of bed in your trailer, most of the trailers weren't keeping up. Mine would get to about 15 degrees at best. Some guys didn't have it as good as I did. There were lots of guys that had little to no heat in their trailer for long stretches at a time. So, yeah, but yeah, it was just the whole, that 5 seconds of the whole, what's he doing? Hang on, I know what he's doing. And the one guy being all disgusted, the other 2 guys like, good idea.
Yeah, we'll take 2.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, you learn to avoid the really big yellow puddles outside guys' trailers when you're walking down to the ice.
Yeah, I'm sure that's in one of your files for the next games. Like, avoid those frozen yellow ice.
Yeah, exactly. So,
that's awesome.
Okay, this has been
Yeah.
awesome. Thanks so much for coming on, Colin. It's really good to see you and hear more stories from it. So,
yeah, thanks for having me again, and we'll meet back in 3 years.
Thanks
I'll
for coming
keep
on.
watching, and maybe one of these times I'll comment. But I do
Thanks.
watch on occasion. So
No,
Okay,
I thank
so-
you again for the game.
yeah, like I said, it was my pleasure. I was happy to do it, and I'm going to be happy to do it again. There were times I was certainly miserable, but it's an honor to play in it, to be honest.
Okay, so we've blown through an hour yet again. So the Oilers game's about to start. Colin has to sell his trailer. So I think this is it for us. So thanks a lot, guys, whoever was here and have listened. This is awesome. Thanks a lot. Take care, guys.
Awesome. Good night,
Thanks,
guys.
everybody. We'll see you guys.
See you later.